You're listening to the Soju Sessions, episode 26 on the SojuTalk Nation podcast feed. I'm your host, Crispy, also known as Crispy Wonton or simply just Anton, and on today's episode, Wolf from the SojuTalk Nation, mod, and just overall pretty chill guy. He's kind of sad all the time. Joins the show to talk about a number of things, and I really just want to complete the moderator introduction interview sessions that I've had over the past few months. I think it's been a really nice way to get to know everyone, to put names to faces, well, voices, I suppose, and really get the story and history of how we all got here and how we're all brought together and why we're still here, why we are so enamored by this fandom and this community, and are really grateful for Soju Talk bringing us all together. So yeah, without further ado, coming up, my conversation with Wolf on the Soju Sessions. Joining Soju Sessions this week, all the way from Aruba, an island place, a pretty chill location leading to a chill person seemingly on the outside with a lot of internal angst and conflict, constantly listening to sad music, trying to express himself and yet attaching to very muscular men of all backgrounds. We have Wolf, moderator from
Hello.
Soju Talk. Welcome, Wolf.
Hello.
Thanks for coming on. I
For
do
having me.
these long intros just to kind of like set the table and loosen everyone up. But I think for
It
you,
works.
yeah, I think for you, I don't think you require loosening up. I think you are just pretty chill and
I'm
calm
just there.
and there.
I'm just there.
Um, and you're very open about the things that you are interested in, to say the
Yeah.
least. Yeah.
It's good and bad. It's good and bad to be open.
Well,
I like being bullied.
it somehow devolves into bullying, but then it gets spun back where you just say something that confuses everyone, and then everyone falls into like perverted conversation.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah,
I
pretty
have
good.
that effect. It's not my fault. It is my fault, but it isn't.
Yeah. Oh, kind of a tangent. Have you seen Shang-Chi yet?
I have. It
Okay.
was really good.
All right. So Aquafina's character,
Yeah.
the story of how they met was actually kind of funny. When you brought up bullying, it reminded me of her story where Sean was about to get beat up in school, and then Aquafina started to sing Hotel
Yeah.
California to confuse the bullies. It's all about confusion. And I actually like now can associate that with you after that 10-second little
Thank
bit.
you.
Hey, Aquafina is amazing in that movie.
Aquafina, it's amazing.
She's kind of a carry, kind of
She kinda her and the other dude,
the sister.
The Mandarin.
Oh, the
The
Mandarin.
Mandarin. It was very weird to have him there because it's very random in a sense, but it was really good comedic like relief while
Really,
the movie was going
really
on.
light.
Yeah, it was really just random, and I liked it. It was just very funny when he did.
Yeah. At first, I was just very confused. And then
Yeah,
they kind of allowed the story to play out, and you see that, oh, he has a connection to this animal. That is also very weird. But that is your guide. That is your spirit guide. And I guess it's the story that, everything has its place and purpose, no matter how
yeah.
weird and unsettling
The
it
movie
may
was
be.
great though.
Love the movie.
I was very doubtful of Marvel after Endgame and everything. Like Black Widow was good, but Black Widow wasn't amazing either. It wasn't something new. It wasn't something. The plot wasn't like that amazing either. But then you have this movie that came out, and it reignited the passion I had for Marvel when the other movies were coming out, which is great because now I'm excited.
Nice. This is turning into Soju Talk Nerd Talk. So, yeah, uh, another aside, like I've been wanting to do a show where we talk about like nerdy things and nerdy movies for
You
a
should, yeah.
while now, but I just haven't been able to like crack the format and like the idea. But I think you are now included in that mix of people who I'd like to have on. And yeah,
If it's
maybe
a movie, if it's a movie that I'm interested in, it's a movie or a TV show or sometimes a game too. I'm not that kind of person that's into shooting games, so like Overwatch and stuff like that. I suck at them. That's mainly why I have like 300 hours in PUBG. Still suck at it. But if it's movies or like very chill game, I would love to do it.
nice. Okay, that I will keep that in mind and just I'll workshop something to get everyone to talk about other things aside from K-pop. But K-pop itself is just a nice way for us to all come together, and it's kind of the start, the foundation of all of our friendships here on the Discord server at SojuTalk K-pop podcast. So, I like to start by getting the origin story of kind of the first timers on the show. So, how did it all begin for you, Wolf? How did you find K-pop, and kind of take me through that growing process of K-pop through the years?
It was very much my sister's influence. It was mainly my sister's influence most of the time, like 80%. Because when I was growing up, she would listen to it and I would hear it like nonchalantly in the background. When we would go into her car, she'd play it. When I would be at home, she'll play it in her room and I would probably annoy her. I would always go to annoy her. That's like the job of a younger brother. But so she kind of introduced me to that. At first, obviously, you're like, oh, it's another language. Why am I listening to this? But then after like a few months of just listening to it, I started vibing to it, and thus when I was older, I guess I got my own interest in it. I'm not really sure how that started. Like I always listened to it because of my sister, but then like one year I decided, okay, I'll go listen to it by myself, and that's kind of how it like started with me and K-pop.
Nice.
She
Yeah,
still influences me, but now I've started to get my own like I don't know vibe, I guess, for the genre.
yeah, like finding your own way, finding your own like personality
Yeah.
within K-pop. That's an amazing story that you kind of shared that with your sister. To start, your sister is also very well known on the server. She's you know, she comes in and out, but
What a
then
loser.
everyone seems to celebrate her. Clearly not you, and that's okay.
No, it's fine. Everybody loves my sister more than me.
Uh, you know, and
It do be like,
she spends far less time than you here, and yet she
yeah,
does get a lot more of the love between the two of you. Kind of sad.
I'm sure. No, they do it on purpose, and I'm sure they do. That's why I love them, but I hate them.
Is it on purpose, or is it kind of just like we'll tell them
I
it's a
don't know.
joke? But
Um, I wouldn't be surprised,
if
but
ever,
I would be surprised.
if everyone's conspiring against you, yeah. Well,
You're gonna hear that. You're gonna hear that a lot from me. It's gonna be like sí pero no, like yes but no, because I do that a lot. I don't know why, but I do.
it's very like the in between answer, where it's
Yeah,
like it could be, but it also
it
couldn't
could
be.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, that actually does give a little bit insight into kind of who you are also, because I do feel like you're that very much like in the middle person, where you're very much with the fun in the games of everything, but then also kind of understanding sometimes like the seriousness, like the weightiness of certain like aspects and topics, right? And it's good to have that in between, and I feel like you do reside in there quite nicely, because you're able to take a lot of jokes, for
Oh
lack of
yeah, I
a
know.
for a nicer way to put that, bullying from others.
It's
I
bullying. I'm hopefully with love and just jokes, but you never know. I really care because I enjoy it. Whenever they talk shit about the Rose or like Woosung or something. They never talk shit about Woosung, but whenever they talk shit about the Rose, I'm like, you say that, but then you go around and listen to them.
I
So
yeah, no, I think it's all in fun. I
yeah, it
think
is.
because it's you, people just
It
want
is.
to be exaggerated about it. I admit I myself have called you
Yeah.
pervert stuff many times, and
Okay, but that's like understandable.
okay. Speaking of pervert stuff, one of your favorite artists, Mr.
Mm.
WONHO, has returned
Mhm. Mhm.
on September 14th, 2021. So just a few days ago, Blue Letter arrived,
Mhm.
debuted another album
Mhm.
with the song Blue. Wonho solo debuted September 4th, 2020, with Love Synonym Part 1. Two music videos came from that album, Losing, Losing You and Open Mind. And then
Mhm.
on February 25th this year, Love Synonym Part 2, with the music video Lose. Is that correct? And
Yeah.
right. Okay. All right. So there's a lot to unpack here. We have WONHO. We have
Hmm.
WONHO. I can't even speak. I'm already thinking about his abs. Why do you? Why are you a fan? And what was his appeal aside from his uh, physical overwhelmingness that really pulled you in as a musician and artist?
I guess he was just very cute. When like his the balance with Wonho is his body is very much like step on me, but then his way of acting and his personality is very, very cute and wholesome. So that kind of it like draws you in. Like compared to the Monster X in general is really great, but then you have Wonho that just stood out to me. It's like Taehyung and BTS. Taehyung is like there's like some that stand out, and those are obviously your bias. So then you had Wonho there that it's the best of both worlds. If
Well,
that
tell
makes
me
sense.
more. So you did kind of allude to the fact that there's a little bit of a what's the word, a conflict, right, a dichotomy, right, where it's like on the one hand he's very like powerful and overwhelming physically, like a physical specimen.
Yeah,
But I have listened to his music. It is very
yeah.
vibey. Started off a
It's
little
it's very
dark.
much yeah.
Go ahead.
It's very much he can do both. Like he does both, but he always has something in his songs that always make you happy, or either it's very dark and sexy, I guess. And this comeback, surprisingly, because all of my friends voted on the other side, he had a shirt on. He had a well, there was like 5 seconds that he didn't have a shirt on, but we don't talk about that. They was just changing shirts. But he actually had clothes on. And it matches with the song though, because the song is very happy, it's very wholesome. It's honestly, it's not that bad. Like I wouldn't actually like when it first came out, I wasn't the biggest fan. I if it came out in my playlist, I would listen to it. I wouldn't really search for it. But I guess that's just personal opinion. Like it it was good. It just wasn't the best either, and that's why I understand why some people didn't like it that much. This song at least.
Well, let's go into a little bit. So, well, let's do a couple things. So,
Yeah.
with regards to his lack of clothes, there was
Mhm.
very one clear scene where he's wearing just a jacket and no t-shirt underneath. So I think you are missing that, sir.
We
Um,
don't. We,
yes. Are you overwhelmed? Are you unable to speak?
yeah.
Imagining
No.
the rock hard nature of all the muscles that are peeking through between the ends of the jacket, ends of the coat. Um,
Honestly, it's Wonho. It wouldn't be like if he actually did ever have a shirt on, then I'm guessing he's sick. And I'm hoping it's his own decision to not have one on, and the company isn't making him not having a shirt on. But I think it's his own decision.
it feels like he has a little bit more creative control. Like as much as we like to joke and like think that it's all fan service, I think there's a very intentional purpose that he himself is directing. So I
I mean,
can
whenever it's a V Live, he always manages to have a watermelon, and he always manages to show off his abs.
has he
Yes, a watermelon.
has he crushed the watermelon with his
Not
thighs
yet.
yet? 'Cause
Not yet. We're waiting for it.
what's it gonna take? Like what is the celebration
I don't.
point that
I don't.
like does
Like
he need to like win a music show? Has he won a music show?
honestly, don't even ask me. I don't even pay attention to music shows nowadays
What if
because
he
it's
won male artist of the year? Is
that I would know.
is that the time that he crushes a watermelon between his thighs?
I don't know, but it keeps bringing like a random watermelon into his V lives. I think it's 3 times already that he has a watermelon in his V lives. And me and my friends are like, why do you have the watermelon? Do you just have it there to slap?
Well, probably, and also to tease you. It's like, oh,
Exactly.
imagine that being me, and imagine that being me when he crushes it. All right. With regards to the song, he's wearing a ton of clothes. I do like the switch up visually and conceptually. It is high teen, so I do think this is the representation of high teen for a male artist, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's the football jock, like
Yeah.
bright nature of everything, Letterman jacket, and like the oversized shirt and shorts. I think that was a nice touch because that was kind of a throwback to like 2000s, late 90s. But what did you kind of think about the brightness of the song, the brightness
I really
of
enjoyed it.
everything?
I did. It was really it's a fun change of pace compared to his other releases. Like you have in his previous albums, you had some songs that like were bright and fluffy because they were I don't know. We Need was a song for his fans, but most of his title tracks were always dark. Look at me, dark, mysterious. That and this was very yeah. Like I said, it was very fluffy. It was very I guess yeah, you could say nostalgic. I don't really have football in my life because I'm from Aruba, but um I think the more I listen to it, I'll probably vibe to it more. I'll probably add it to my playlist soon because the more I see it on my TikTok, the more I dance to it.
Yeah, it's one of those that you continually get exposed to something that is a little different, but it's from someone that you're familiar with, and
Yeah.
you end up liking it. As weird as it is, because I don't think it's a bad song. I just think it's so different from his other
It
songs.
is.
At least for me, because I don't listen to his music very often. So this was
Yeah.
just, ooh, it was a lot. Um, yeah, no, I think very very fun, very nice like inclusion into his music for this year. This may be the last song for him for the year or last release.
I, I I
You
would
know,
imagine he
yeah,
has released like two this year already.
yeah. So I guess we're gonna be waiting for next year, but that'll be probably the winter time. So we'll hopefully get another moody, vibey Wonho,
I
uh,
hope.
sweater with the ab window. You know,
I have I have what was it like $20 bet and I know I lost $20 this time because we made a bet on if he had it was if it was gonna be like the entire MV without a shirt or if he would have a shirt on. And obviously I bet because judging by his comebacks every time he had less clothing on, I bet that he wouldn't have a shirt on the entire MV.
were you hoping for like a summer beach MV where he's just like by the pool and like in a
That's what we thought
in a speedo the entire
because
time?
I mean the I mean you saw no, you didn't see it, but there were comeback photos, and the comeback photos were there were a few that were on the beach, and obviously you would be like, ah, okay, like you probably didn't see it. I'll send you the TikTok. But yeah, I thought it was gonna be
I'm
something
totally gonna
beachy.
watch the TikTok.
Yeah, you
Totally,
totally are.
hundred
You say you
percent.
won't, but you will.
Well, with all that said, interesting previews leading up to the song because it kind of
Yeah,
didn't show that in the music video. But I do like this direction artistically, as far as like kind of exploring the high teen from the male point of view. Because I think throughout this year, especially, we've gotten a lot of high teen with a lot of female artists. Sunmi, even Silgi dressed up in a lot of high teen for some collaboration she did with somebody. I think it was like a TikTok video. And then
I'm just
Stacy girls, But
I'm very much happy that he changed it up compared to other artists because I mean this year and last year were a lot was very dark, like every boy group was dark,
yeah, everybody group
and
was
I
dark.
do enjoy that. Every soloist too, most of them except Lucy, but you guys don't listen to Lucy, but
Yes, Wolf, we get it. You listen to very specific things that only your
very
heart.
specific thing. Yeah, because yeah, you guys are just losers.
Yeah, thank you. Well, speaking of a specific artist that you like, that you are definitely the stan of, you are the flag bearer, you are the one person crying with them all the time, The Rose, and even one step further, Woosung, who released a song this year, Lazy. Um, okay, first of all, tell me about The Rose. So personally, I've never listened to The
Mm,
Rose. You're
mm-hmm.
you're so this is all up to you to convince me to listen to them
Oh no,
and
don't put that
describe
pressure
their
on me.
music. So describe their music for us, Wolf. Why is it that they resonate with you?
That's like asking an artist like why are they your favorite artists? Because I don't know, their music is great. They're very much a K-pop band. I have a thing for K-pop bands. If you didn't realize, I just have a thing for them, and it is four members. You have Hajun, Wosung, Dojun, and Jaehyun. Currently Hajun, Dojun, and Jaehyun are in the military, but I think they're releasing next year. I think has it been 2 years already? Um.
2019 was the last album.
So yeah, fuck. They're coming out next year. Yes, or this year, December, whatever. Um. their music is very much, you can either go very happy or very very sad, which is the perfect, like the perfect thing for me, because I either like very, or either I'm either in the mood for very sad music or very happy music. It's mostly sad music, but we don't talk about that. But it's the Rose. I don't know. A lot of people say they don't listen to them, but then you naturally listen to their music because it's just there. It's always been there. It's the same with, well, Lucy is a caso aparte. It's different because Lucy is very much um very happy all the time. I don't think they've had a release that isn't happy, which is great because compared for me, that always listens to sad music, Lucy is very happy, and I've probably my favorite group at the moment. But I'm really hoping that the Rose is coming back soon because I really need them, and I'm loving that WooSung is starting to release stuff by his own, Jesus, English.
Very good.
But I do miss them all.
Simp. Um, if you could describe like a setting to put um, the Rose in, as far as like to describe their music, like how would you do that? Like for me, I'll say like Haze is coffee shop
Mhm.
music, right? Um, and
The
uh,
Rose is very much, it's raining and it's dark and you're sitting in a coffee shop. Like a coffee shop, you have either coffee shop in the morning, coffee shop like while it's raining. They're very much while it's raining and you're in your mood and you're studying or you're reading a book or you're crying.
that actually paints a
I
really
have
nice
that.
picture. Yeah, no, that helps because yeah, sometimes I just like to use settings as a way to describe music as
Yeah.
opposed to comparing it to other artists who are similar. Because like why then just listen to the other artist. But the Rose, I think that helps, and that will at least set like my headspace as far as
Your
like
mental image.
yeah, how I want to like listen to them. But one person that I do know the music of, and like you said, Woosung released
Mm.
"Lazy" just earlier this year.
Mhm.
This song is very vibey. It's got a little bit of
This is
trap.
very vibey.
It's a little bit of hip hop R&B. The music video is kind of fun. You know, his life's kind of a mess, but he's just vibing. At the end, he does this kind of outfit change where the look is very
Oh
androgynous.
yeah.
Pretty cool, honestly. Like it was so I was a surprise, but a nice surprise because he was just everyone was down with it, which I thought was cool. It wasn't like a surprise to everyone in the story. It was kind of a surprise just to the audience. But tell me about
Wusung
the
is a
song. Go ahead.
Wusung is a person that um as Doug always says, Wusung is always the one that stands out the most from the Rose. He's probably the most well known from them. I think it's mainly because he has a solo career apart from the Rose. I think he's had other releases in the past. He had like his album Wolf, his EP Wolf, and he did also ET1 and Beautiful Girl. But he his voice is very very like peculiar. Yeah, you don't see that voice. That it's very specific voice. When you hear him sing, you automatically say, "Oh, that's Wusong," and that's why I love him that much. Is because whenever he does something, you automatically say, "Oh, it's his voice." Love that he's being appreciated for it, but I do kind of miss that um, the Rose isn't getting appreciation for it because I mean it's not just him in the group, but this release was very much happy and I liked it. It was very much, I'm just happy because he's coming back, and he said that the Rose isn't under the company that they were under. They were under J and Star, and they had the scandal and whatever. And I'm very happy that they aren't under them anymore because that means they can actually release music. And I'm just happy in general that he's coming back because if he's coming back, that means eventually the Rose has to come back. And he said that they have music planned, so I'm just happy in general, which is very like contradicting because I mean usually the Rose is what I listen to when I want to cry. So I'm happy and I'm sad because I listen to them.
Yeah, no, it's one of those you know you get those emotions out to get that emotional release so then you can feel happy, you know, that endorphin release when you cry, so that's understandable. Yeah, no,
Oh no,
I am no stranger to listening to sad music, especially during
the
fall and winter, so
the emotional grip that group has on my soul.
it's just
If you wanna make me cry, just play "She's in the Rain" and I'll sob. That and Pentagon at Road to Kingdom.
oh that was but that was not fair. That was like that one is like Yeah, I have no words. I can't even words for that one.
No, no. I listened to it the other day. Still sobbed.
Yeah, the Pentagon Road to Kingdom was essentially final boss mode, where it's like, oh, you think you're all equipped, you think you got, you leveled up and you looted everything, you got you have all the spells ready to cast. No,
No,
surprise.
I, oof, no, that's. And Mina always bullies me for it. Mina always like puts it in chat or something. Like, hey, yeah, stream this. I'm like, ah, ha, ha. I don't want to cry my eyes off.
Yeah, you do that enough on your own. Well, let's kind of flip into like a more upbeat, a group that
Yeah.
upbeat group, a group and a very specific artist from this group that has released
Mm,
3 very upbeat disco songs in the past year and a half or so.
mm,
This is BTS, and we're going to talk
mm-hmm.
about your favorite member of BTS, Taehyung, also known as V.
V.
Yeah.
Yeah. V.
Go into it. Why is he your favorite member?
Well, I guess from the moment that my sister, her alt for a long time was BTS. Like that was she was a fan since like 2013 or something like that, 14, for a while. And so whenever I would hear BTS music, I was always Tae's voice would always stand out for me. And then you had his solo, not solo releases, but Love Yourself Tear with his release of oh my god, am I blanking on the name? Singularity. And that kind of was the seal on the deal. That song was like, oh okay. It was purely his voice and very very deep voice, and I was like, okay, he's my bias. And from that moment on, his personality matched very well with mine in a way, and I saw myself in him. And my bias rocker is Jungkook, but I've always thought of it in a way that your bias is who you are, and your bias record is who you want to be in a way of how you want to see yourself, and your bias is how you see yourself now. And it matches up in a way because Taehyung is always it's always very like he's always very serious, but he's very very goofy at the same time. So it's a type of Wonho, but Wonho is just goofy in general. But Taehyung sometimes he's just a diva, and so I just love him. And BTS was my introduction to K-pop. Like when I first joined the server, like it was March 2019 when I first joined. Um, that's the main reason why I joined the server was BTS because I was listening to. I searched it up because I was curious. It was the 29th episode of Soju Talk. It was titled BTS World Domination. That's the reason why I joined. Literally that. And for a long time, if you see my chat history in the beginning, it was mainly about BTS, like primarily about BTS. And that was basically what I was talking about for a few months. And then I slowly converted to signing more groups. And and here we are. And BTS is still there. Their newest releases haven't really interested me that much. Doesn't mean I'm not an army, but it's just I haven't really listened to them. I haven't really paid attention to them that much, mainly because I don't know. Like Dynamite was good, Butter was good, but then you pushed it one too far for me, and I preferred. I don't know. That's a whole other discussion that we can have about BTS and like doing all English songs and like primarily doing the US market, but I'm not gonna start that drama because I'm gonna get hate from Army. But it was just who I kind of relied on. Tay and then Bit on up until I found groups that I liked, which was good. I mean, I made a lot of friends because of BTS, but I do enjoy that I've created my own thing. And yeah, I kind of went off topic there, but whatever.
No, that was great. No, you said a lot of really interesting and introspective things. I think the first thing you mentioned about your bias and your bias wrecker. We do all love to live in the fantasy of our favorites of any group, right? I
Mhm.
am 100% a culprit of this. I admit it. I'm sorry for everyone who has witnessed and experienced me, but I think it was really beautiful the way that you put that, where your bias is the person that you are in the present moment, and your bias record is who you hope to be, or at least the aspects of yourself that you want to
Yeah,
include into your life, right?
yeah.
And I think there is a bit of poetry to that, as far as like how you can represent that and reflect that into other areas of your life. Um, K-pop is exaggerated. We do this because we need something to help, pass the time and pass kind of the strain of life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can find like a fantasy way to at least give it a little bit more color, a little bit more fun, I think it's a really nice way to do that. And for you, you are very deep in the way that you think about things, so it does make a lot of sense that you're able to kind of attach yourself in that kind of way. Yeah,
He will forever. He will always be my alt. Tay. I don't know why, but he will probably always be my alt. Like I have other alts, but he's like the top of the top for me. And I'm not sure. I think it was just like the emotional grasp, I guess, that he has over me compared to others. Like Woosung is my alt from the Rose. Chan is my alt from Lucy. Wonho was my alt from Monsta X. Um, but he will always like reign supreme in a way. And I probably don't talk to him as much. I don't talk about him as much on the server that I used to, and that's why people don't really know it that I'm an army recently. But he will forever be there in my mind, just like a constant reminder in the back of my head.
you alluded to a little bit, but what is it specifically emotionally that you attach to with regards to his tone of voice, the type of music he has done that is somewhat solo, and speak a little bit more to Singularity? Why was it that song that pulled all of that out for you?
I'm very much a sucker for like deep voices, so Corpse like automatically. But when I heard that, it was very much is melodramatic the correct word? It's a very much dramatic song, and I always liked that type of tone. That it's very jazzy in a way, but it's his voice in general. He can do jazz, and he's done it before. But that specific release did something for me, and I'm not sure in my mind it did something for me. I think it's just after you read the lyrics and you understand what they're trying to say, it kind of like stuck in my mind, and I'm not sure why. Because there were other solo releases; they all did a solo release in that album, like those two. But that one just stuck with me, and it was just like engraved into my mind. And then afterwards, I started watching, those K-pop videos. You would like introduction to BTS, or and then you would go to the V lives, and then you would go to funny moments, and then when I actually got to know his personality, I was like, okay, he's the one. Yeah, he's it. He was just very cute.
Yeah, I mean, there's a developmental critical period in the way that everyone's mind develops, right? I can speak for
Oh yeah.
myself and just the period in which like you go from like teenager into your 20s into your college years. A lot of things change psychologically,
How old was
cognitively.
I?
That was not that long ago.
That was. Why does it feel like it was so much longer?
Because you've
What? That
aged
was
so
2000.
much in the past few years, Wolf. You've seen the
Oh
world.
no, I was bad. Ooh, ooh, don't talk about me when I first joined.
Oh,
I'm still bad, but oh, that was cringy.
I should
Ooh,
get your sister on to talk about those
oh no,
stories.
no, you should.
That's gonna be next week,
No,
everyone.
just dog and like of them would know.
We're gonna find a way to get those stories out of you.
No, please don't.
Um,
That's really bad.
but with all that being said, it just you attaching to his voice, it's something ingrained, deeply ingrained in how we all kind of resonate and attach to something that we may not be able to fully explain, right? Um, and then you also went into the rabbit hole of all of the content from the music videos, from the individual stuff, V lives, fan edits.
Obviously, you have that rabbit hole that you have when you first like getting like into a group. Like I think every group you have that. But then I just suck at names. So in general, don't ask me a name. I suck at names. Like don't ask me anything to go to like I stand in a lot of groups, but I just suck at remembering names. So they would always be like, "Oh, who's your favorite member?" I would know one member or two members that caught my eye. But then you'd have I don't know, like 17 or NCT. NCT, I know some of them because of my sister, but Day 6, I know also know some of them by now. But don't tell me, don't ask me anything but any other groups because I wouldn't know.
I feel like that's
That's
a
just,
I feel like that's a far more relatable experience than everyone knowing every single member of everyone they listen to.
I don't know how people do it.
I
I
think
honestly have no clue.
my take is that I think we all pretend and act like we know all the names when in fact we
Oh
have
no.
Google open like right next to us.
Yeah,
And when someone's talking to us, like, yeah, totally. Like, I have the list in front of me. I can name them off. At least on it. That's how I work sometimes. I will admit it.
yeah, obviously.
Um,
I opened up um I opened up 17 NCT's member list in my tabs. I have them just in case. But I always have that. I have that one friend, a friend of mine that also into K-pop, but she knows every member's names. Like every group, she knows them, and she's just really good with names. And I'm just really bad with names, so I always message her regarding a group, and she'll be like, "Ah, this, and this," and I'll be like, "Ah, thank you."
nice. Well, you have some people who have that encyclopedic knowledge about
Yeah,
everything. So, they are probably like the one in a million kind of thing. They are the exception. We are the
yeah,
normies.
yeah,
We are the ones that require Google next to us all the time. Google, put a chip in my brain. I'm good with that now. Come on.
yeah.
All
They
right.
have one in our arms.
Yeah, they already partnered up with all the vaccine people. So I mean, just one step further, right? Put it where I can actually use it. Hello.
We have the 5G. We just need the connection now.
Well put. So we did talk about this a little bit, but now we're gonna go a little bit deeper. Your time at SojuTalk. So I think
Mm,
you did mention you discovered it, or at least the server in March of 2019.
yeah.
You're a brat. I think is how you're alluding
Ooh.
to. I don't know this personally. I wasn't there. That's what comes to mind. I could be wrong. Maybe you were an angel.
I joined the same day as Joker.
All right.
Like we
So
joined the
let me
same
ask
day.
you then: would you describe yourself a brat or an angel, or somewhere in the
Right.
middle? Okay,
Oof,
perfect.
no, that was bad.
Well,
Obviously, you always have that moment, like you look back to your childhood, where like a few years ago, and you'd be like, "Oh, damn, that was me." Oof, no, that was. Oof.
we'll go into it.
But
So what was that like? Like initially
it was,
going into the server because it was brand new at that point.
it wasn't like to the point where it was. Yeah, today's standards, it was brand new. But for me, there were always like some members. It was always already there. But I do remember it being very always it was always active, and even for a server that wasn't that big back then, so it wasn't that big when I first joined, it was always active, and you always had a conversation going on that you can join. But obviously my dumbass was only into BTS, so I think for the majority everything that I said was in BTS or regarding to BTS. Yeah, look, I'm going through my chat right now. Oof, no. But um I think it was very happy, and the main reason I joined in general was because I wanted to talk about it, and I was already using Discord. I've been using Discord for like, I don't know, 8 years already. I started when I was really young, and I wasn't like I wasn't weirded out by the idea of joining a Discord about a topic. I was already in a few Discords about other things like gaming and stuff, but this one was the one that stuck to me the most, I guess, compared to the others. And I'm guessing it's just because the interaction was always there. The interaction between you and someone else who was also interested in something you liked was always there, and there's always something you could talk about. And that's kind of how it developed.
Nice. Yeah, I think the Discord has just been like a kind of an amazing place for so many people over the past like 3 or 4 years, right? I think in my head, it was always like Reddit. It was like the initial place to like, get this type of back and forth
Yeah,
communication, but the immediacy, the availability is not the same at all because it's a message board. You post something, you hope to get a
yeah,
response.
exactly.
Where this, it's a text chat where it's like there are people that will probably see it right away and who can conceivably respond in real time, which is kind of the case today. Where for the most part, like anywhere you are on the server, you will probably find someone who can talk to you in that like present moment, right?
Yeah.
What? Well, you said it was very active even in the early days. So
Yeah,
what
it
what did the
was.
what did the channels look like back then? I have an idea of it, but I don't think a lot of people do know about like what it was formatted as when it first started.
Honestly, don't even ask me that. Do you think I remembered? I was like three. No, no, I remember some of it. I remember there was the same K-pop chants were still there. I think um there was a bot channel too. There was general. No, general was something else back then. I don't remember what, but it was something else. General was there, and then there was something else above that. City of a Nation didn't exist. The server changed so much since that part. Like so much was added and like discussed in mod channels regarding what we're gonna add, what we're gonna remove, how many channels we're gonna keep, and whatnot. And eventually, I think we should have just archived a lot of those channels instead of deleted them because you deleted a lot of the messages that were in those channels. But it was the server back then was actually it was really fun. It's so fun today, but back then because it was smaller in a way, you knew everybody that was in there. Or at least I knew everybody was in there because when I first joined, and for like a year and a half after joining, I was really incredibly active. So I was like me and Maul were always we're always fighting for number one spot on the leaderboard with like XP and stuff. Like it was just that me and him, what a bitch. Me and him would always fight for the number one spot, and it's because I was very much active in their first year. And then as you probably realized, like after that I kind of took a dip in like being active for like 3 months or 2 months. I took off. Like I would still read everything, but I just didn't have the motivation to talk. And I think it was mainly because I just got burnt out of Discord. I've used it so many years after each other and always being active everywhere that I just didn't have the mental capacity to do that more, and that's why I like kind of died for like 2 months and 3 months. And you obviously you had Maul and Doug and everything. They would tag me in the mod chat or something like that, and they'd be like, "Hey, you good? You alive?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here. I'm just vibing." And that's just my reaction, automatic reaction now. If somebody asks me, "Hey, are you there?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm vibing." But I do love how the server progressed since that beginning and now. It's very much more of a community. It was already then, but now it's a bigger community, and you have a lot more people, and you have a lot more people to talk about, and you have so many different groups compared to back then because you always had conversation going on, but usually would be about the same amount of groups, like the same groups, because obviously the people that were in the server had the same alts, like they were the same. They had the groups they had the same groups they would talk about because obviously it wasn't that big. There wasn't that much variety in groups, but it was always fun though, and it's always fun now to talk about groups that you like, even if you get bullied for it. But
Yeah,
I don't
good.
regret at all enjoying it.
Yeah, you said a lot of interesting things about the progression, and how it does feel like it's almost in parallel with K-pop moving west,
Oh yeah.
where it's it started off very niche. We all had like our one or two favorite groups, and we were all able to talk to everyone. I
Mhm.
joined November of that year, but I wasn't really active until maybe a month or two before the pandemic. So, I mean, I was
Like
just like, once the pandemic hit, it's like, I need to socialize. I need to be around people somehow. So I was just on it all the time. I had Discord open on one of my monitors, and then my work computer was in front of me, and I
yeah.
just look over. But
Oh
I
yeah, I
think,
remember that.
yeah, but I think it's an important lesson, and thing that you mentioned about being burnt out from the internet, right? Um,
Hmm.
because as much as we love to like interact with people and we like the excitement of something new, especially Discord, especially being able to talk about K-pop, um, I think it was nice that you were able to reflect that you needed that space for yourself. Um,
Yeah.
do you feel like you are a better fan now because you're able to kind of like think, look back, zoom out, and because you took that time for yourself?
I think so. I think it gave me time to process everything too because that was the same time, same period of time that was, yeah, it was like you had that reaction in the pandemic. I had the opposite reaction. The first month of the pandemic, the first 2 months, I was still active in Discord, but then after that, I kind of took off. I'm not really sure why. I think it was I had a break period in the pandemic, and then I had a break period around December this year, like last year, 2020. And I think it was partly because my mental health was getting to a point where I just didn't want to socialize. And that's something like a lot of people don't talk about, but it was the pandemic in general just made you feel so incredibly lonely all the time. And Discord helps in a way, but on the other hand, you don't go to school. I used to rely on going to school to socialize. You don't go out, you stay at home every. That kind of took a toll at one point because Discord would be fun. Like you would go to Discord. There would always be someone in voice chat, but at one point that just didn't work for me anymore. And so that's kind of when I decided, okay, let me take a break. Let me step back. Luckily, my sister was still here doing the panoramic. And so I kind of just annoyed her for a while. And my mom was always here too. So we kind of just vibed for that period of time.
How would you describe your social needs? And I can elaborate. So, just the way that you recharge and draw energy, is that with other people present or by yourself?
I'm weird. I don't know. It's always I have moments where I really enjoy being around people, and I have moments where I'm very extroverted. I have moments where I'm really introverted, and I think it's depending on my mood of the day. I guess if something pisses me off, I either want to go to a friend of mine to get it off of my mind, or I want to just stay home and be introverted. And it's just a gamble at this point. I don't know why it's like that for me. Like some days I would see you guys in Discord and voice chat, and I would be like, "Oh, I really let me join," and I do. And then other days I see you guys in Discord, I'm like, I would just go there and be quiet, so I'm not gonna join. So that's kind of how I don't know. It's my mind.
No, it's actually like really interesting that you're able to reflect and like be able to articulate that, because I don't think most people can so clearly. I think you do a nice job of at least describing the fact that it's a range of emotions, it's a range of feelings. Um,
It's it's very much. I think most of my development as a person has been because of my sister. My sister. And I do see a difference between my friends that have primarily a brother, a bigger brother, and a bigger sister. Most of my friends that have a sister as a bigger sister are much more vocal about their feelings that I've realized. And most of my friends, my two friends that have bigger brothers, are not. And like they're very, very socially, they don't talk about their feelings, they're emotionally unavailable. And so I have my sister to thank because she always was the person that would tell me, Don't bottle it up. Like I made that mistake. Don't do that. Just talk about it, and it's okay to not be okay. Cue the K drama, but
I
that's
hate you so much.
I never finished that. That's another discussion.
Oh, hold on. Okay, we're getting into deep stuff, and now I'm like upset because you didn't finish that drama. That was the one where I fell in love with Seo Yeji. So you gotta finish it because she's
That's
great. She's insane. She's chaotic, but I love it.
that's just another problem of mine. It's just I never finish any TV series that I watch.
All right, that's fair. If it's a bigger problem, the fact that you don't
It is.
finish,
It really
then
is.
I'm okay with that because Seo Yeji is
Like I've started multiple K dramas and I've started multiple TV shows, and I binge watch them to a point where I fall off and I don't want to watch it anymore. But then I never get the urge to watch them again.
so
So it's
you go
really
too
tough.
hard to start and then you burn
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
and I hate it.
Fine. Okay, I accept these terms. But let's go back to your sister a little bit. So, do you remember any like specific moment, like a critical period where you had an experience with her that she guided you through that really formed and shaped like who you are as a person? As much or as little detail as you can recall.
During the Panasonic, um,
You're
we would
doing
always
great, by
go.
the way.
Yeah, I went from panoramic to Panasonic. I'm going through all the names for the I almost said panoramic again. Pandemic. Um, we would always go on drives. Like she would have a driver's license, and we would always go get boba. Addiction. absolute addiction, but that's just another story.
I know this addiction quite well. I too
Yeah,
have an addiction.
it's,
What?
during quarantine was really bad because there was nothing else you could do. You literally just go get boba and you would come back home. And it was always during those times where you would go for late night drive, which is very cliche, but the late night drives are always the best way to talk about what you're feeling. Like you have boba, and you drive. That's basically what we did. And there was always moments where you would have online school and stuff like that. And one of the biggest problems I had is because I'm a person that loves to talk. Like weirdly, like in person, I can either be very introvert or extrovert, like I said. But at school, I would always talk to my teachers. I always talk to everybody in class, even if they didn't like it. I was gonna talk to you, which kind of makes sense now, but whatever. So without having that possibility of going to a teacher, going to another student in my class and talking to them, which obviously you had online class, but online class was nothing compared to being in person and talking to someone because you couldn't strike up a random conversation with someone without the whole class being there. And so during the Panasonic and I would have online class, my sister and I would go to drives and I would talk to her about it and I would be like, yeah, it's gonna be a very hard year because first of all, I love talking to people and second of all, I hate studying online because I'm a person I I need to be there to remember it because I mostly pay attention in class and then don't do shit when I get home. And this because of the Panasonic, you had no distinction between the two. If that makes any sense, you would have your bed next to your desk. You would wake up, go to school, finish, do your homework, go back to your bed. There was no scenery change for like months, and that would have such a bad effect on my mental health. Um, that eventually I had to talk to my sister, and I was a person. I was like my other friends. I wouldn't talk to my sister. I wouldn't talk to anybody about my feelings. And then I finally decided. My sister told me, "Okay, you're gonna talk to me because it's enough." And that's when I started to do that, and I don't regret it at all because it's always. And then obviously I opened up to some of my friends too, but then some of my friends are also emotionally unavailable and useless. So
Um, yeah, it's you said a lot. You said a lot of really
sorry.
no. It's all really good things. I think all the things you said is going to help a lot of people at least gain that perspective as well because, um, you should give yourself more credit than you started off with. I think. Well, I'm gonna go a little behind the scenes. So, if, like prior to this, you said like you were gonna have issues speaking English because that's not like the language you speak normally. I think you are
I would just stutter.
far more articulate than you give yourself credit for to start, and you are able to put into words a lot of thoughts and emotions that I think a lot of people share in common. One of them being emotionally unavailable, having certain people around you who may or may not be available in that sense, and what you need as a person as far as your sounding boards in real life. That
Yeah,
physical presence of people and the types of environments that you thrive in which like you can socialize, right? Because like you said, like online school, you want to talk to everyone. Well, you're typing in the chat, everyone can see it, you know.
yeah,
Or does feel like you love talking to people, but you also like having that very specific one-to-one connection. So
yeah.
whether it's like bothering a
That's
teacher after
very accurate.
class, right? But you are
Yeah,
able to like gain their full attention, and then they have
yeah.
yours as well. So you do feel that does resonate. All that to say, I think it's really nice to hear that your sister was able to talk you through all that stuff. And from what I know of her, she would be the aggressive person to stop you and say, "Hey, stop acting up. Like, why are you sad? Why are you depressed? You're gonna
It's
talk to
it's
me."
it's always good to have an older sibling because they can always like teach you stuff. Like the moment I eventually I'll go to the Netherlands next year to study, and I'll have my sister there, and she'll know everything, and she can give me advice on what to do and what not to do, and that's always good to have. And it's like if you are an older sibling and you have a younger sibling, make sure you give your sibling, and if you see your sibling doing something that isn't correct, you correct them, you teach them, you and you learn from your, like if you're an older sibling, you learn from things you've done, and you make sure they don't do it. Because I think that's mostly what my sister did with me, and that helped me in a sense that it molded me into a person that was much more open compared to other people I know. And yeah,
No, that's a good sentiment because I think, oftentimes people aren't comfortable just like giving unsolicited advice, right? Or they feel like a lot of their words fall on deaf ears. Where, sometimes it does, but oftentimes it's just going to be a source of guidance, whether or not they take it explicitly, right? It could just be something that
yeah,
sticks in their head, and then decide later, like, oh, that was important. I remember you talking about that like 10 years ago. I'm gonna
yeah,
not do that in the future. Um, but in your case, it does feel like you and your sister have a great relationship, and that you do take a lot of the
yeah.
things that she says
Ooh, that was
seriously, and you
annoying.
act on it, which is kind of cool.
Oh, I was a devil child when I was younger, though.
Well,
No, but it when I was younger, it was very much oof. I was annoying.
um,
But as I got older, I think my sister, and I grew very much closer
yeah,
than when I was younger. But that's obvious because when you're younger, you're more you're just a pest.
very true.
No.
Before we close out, I got two things for you. One,
Mm.
what is one story you are willing to share about how awful you were as a child or as a teenager not too long ago?
um. So, like I said earlier, I said that I would always annoy my sister when I was young. Like I would always go to her room. That was the same thing that would happen when I was younger, but it would always be when she had friends over. So whenever she had friends over, and I regret this to this day, I hate the fact that I did it. I would be so annoying, and I wouldn't leave her room. Like I would get annoyed if they kicked me out. And so I was just very incredibly annoying, and I hate it. But I was like that. I was a kid that if my sister had friends over, I had to be in the room, and she would hate it. And like if she had a sleepover, I would always annoy them. Oh, it was annoying. But and yet, like later dates, I would always be friends with her friends though, because my sister in general, like at the beginning of the server, you would realize I wasn't that mature, but as I grew more mature, it was basically my sister and my other influences from Discord. I was lucky enough as a like I was really young when I started using Discord. Like I was like 13, 14.
So you weren't
No,
technically able
12?
to
No,
legally use it at that
no.
point.
We don't talk about that.
You kind of just
And
did.
I kind of I fell into a at least in a good sense, I fell into a good community when I was that young. So I always had like older people that would always tell me if I did something, they would be like, "No, don't do that." So eventually, I got a sense of what not to do and what to do, and I was very lucky in my sense that I fell into a good community because I was very young. That would have been bad, but I am still friends with those people that I used to know when I was really young, and I was still annoying. Obviously, I was still very immature, but it did help me get a sense of just life, I guess. No, just it grew my personality, if that makes any sense. And then you would join Soju Talk, and you would have that same sense. It's like a moral obligation in a sense that I also have that now. That when you have someone that's younger than you in a Discord server, you I would try and always tell them, "Oh, hey, don't do this or do that," because you don't want them to take the bad things from Discord or from the internet. You don't want that. You want them to take the good things, and you want them to grow with you in Discord. If that makes any sense, because I grew with people that were much older than me, and they molded me into the person that I am now. Because I was very young, so I was still in my growing phase. So they molded me into who I am, and then my sister also came along, and my mom, my parent, my dad were always. I have a good family, thankfully, but I would always say if you do see something, and especially nowadays with, you would say it's cancel culture, but someone using a slur, just a kid or someone just using a slur, and you would want to educate them and tell them, hey, that's not allowed for you to say. It's not very nice. People don't want you to say that. Don't say that. That's just things that I feel like you have a more obligation to pass on to the next people, and you would always have people that would be like, "Oh yeah, just live your life, whatever, fuck off. It's not your business." But it's those type of people that always make it the worst, because like I had a friend the other day that would say a slur, and me and my other friend would educate them and be like, "Hey, don't say that, it's not allowed." And then he would be like, "Oh, you're just like cancel culture, that's just cancel culture, you just want to cancel me." I'm like, "No, I don't want to cancel you, I just don't want you to make that mistake again, because if you did do it again, it's gonna eventually lead to people leaving your life, and you would actually maybe get beat up on the streets if you do say that." So I do think we should, in a sense, make a distinction between um, cancel culture and non-cancel culture, and just educating someone. And that's the big thing that we have to do on Discord. We just have to educate people, and hopefully we do that, because I wouldn't want, let's say, Kesali was also very young when he joined. um
Kisalo is still very young, by the way.
he is still very young, but when he joined, ooh, um we did talk to him a few times, and he did take the right message every time, and that's really enjoyable that he did. And it kind of makes me happy in a sense that we did that, because if we didn't, then he would just have stayed the same. And you never know how someone is in the real life, and if they had the people to like talk to them about those stuff. So yeah.
No, all of that was really insightful. You kind of took it in like a million directions, and I do feel like
Yeah,
it
I
also.
did, sorry.
No, you're great. You're doing really great. Don't worry. Don't apologize. It's all stemmed from the compassion and empathy that your sister showed to you, right? And those learning moments that you had in
Yeah,
your formative years, and what you want to perpetuate as far as being in a digital space, being on Discord, having friends on the internet,
Twitter,
and like
Twitch.
pushing Twitch, all of the places, right? And letting those messages kind of resonate for the next generation, for the kids coming behind you. And I think those are all really good things. Things that are far wiser than I could ever have imagined me saying at your point at my age, at your point in your life. Is that how? I don't even know. Like 100 years ago, when I was your age, because I am a freaking senior citizen, whatever it is.
Hey, that's senior abuse.
Well, thank you for advocating for me. I don't need it because I probably won't remember it tomorrow because I'm very old and memory capacity, just like a
No, you
computer.
have to go take your nap soon.
I know, right? I got to have dinner at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Uh,
With all that being said, I think you kind of nailed it. But if you could pick one hopeful thing for the future, whether that's on the internet or for yourself in real life, what is something that you want to leave the audience with today?
um, be yourself, because I always struggled with that for a while when I was younger, at least. Recently, I've accepted I'm not gonna like be a fake person anymore. I'll just be myself, and anybody that doesn't like that self can fuck off. So my main thing for you, just like for them to know, is just don't hide your true self because you're scared of what other people have to say about you. Just be yourself. You'll be much happier with yourself, and eventually you'll find people that will resonate with who you are as a person.
Well said. Very beautiful. And it all kind of wraps into this idea of loving yourself
Mm-hmm.
from some band, some group.
Some band, I don't know, Nugu.
Yeah, behind the scenes, something like that. All right. Wolf, amazing conversation. Thank you for being very candid, very open, and
Oof,
running with a lot of topics and conversation points.
very all over the place, but
No, again, like kind of a peek behind the curtain, you were very concerned that you were not going to have anything to say. I probably did less talking on this episode than I have in many others. So I do appreciate that you were able to carry a lot of the conversation and give a lot of insight into who you are as a person. All right, let's sign out. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Soju sessions on the SojuTalk Nation podcast feed. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify or your preferred podcast platform, and continue the conversation on the SojuTalk K-pop podcast Discord. For Wolf, this is Crispy, and this has been the Soju Sessions.